Good morning, friends. This is Dennis Miracle. Today I will be making a tutorial for the design you see on the computer screen, which I have called Trembling Hearts. And it's a simple design. I know a lot of people don't like anything with lots of stitches. How many stitches do we have here? Uh, well, actually, we have 13,000. Uh, but I think it's a simple design, uh, more so than some of the others I've made. So we're going to make this today, and let me go and show you what you need to do that. Oh, you need, uh, first I have hooped up my 6x10 brother or baby lock hoop. And you might notice these brown lines. That's like a magic marker. I put those there when I can remember, which is not that often, uh, in case the whole thing just falls out of the hoop, which I have had happen. Just suddenly fell on the floor. I didn't realize it was loose, and I had those marks at that time, and I put it back in the hoop with those just like they are, and I got it to work out perfectly. There was no, it was not destroyed. So I'm trying to remember to do that, and because I know it saved me once. So anyhow, that's just a side note. I cut all of my fabrics 7x11 for a 6x10 design. So first, you need a zipper. So the width is approximately 10 inches. You need something in excess of 10 inches, probably a 12 to 14 inch zipper. I think this is about a 14-inch zipper. I buy them in bulk from Amazon, so I believe that's what this is. All right, you need two pieces of batting, 7x11. You need two pieces of lining material. Now I have, since this bag is kind of a demonstration bag, I've just used these two random pieces that I actually sewed together of some fabric. So this will be my lining fabrics. And then you need your main fabric. So you've got the top piece, which is your applique portion. I'm going to make it in this color because it goes well with a little, you can see there, it looks nice. It goes perfectly with that. This is pretty material my friend Margot gave me. And you've got two pieces of this material. So you need three pieces. One for the what's going to be your applique piece, then the main piece of front fabric, and then another piece for the back fabric. So I think that covers it all. And let me turn my machine on and run the first step, and we'll uh, make this project. All right, friends, you can see that step one has been run, and it did the outline of the bag and the area for placement of the zipper. And I will say again, as I do every time, this center area is where the coils of your zipper will be. These two center lines are where the actual stitching will be. So I recommend a number 3 nylon zipper to be used, and so just keep that in mind where the actual stitching will be. Regardless of what zipper you end up using, you know that this is where the stitching is going to be. So keep that in mind as you're placing it down. And I'm going to then grab it over here. Okay. And I'm going to, and by the way, this is a number 3 zipper is 1 inch wide, and this area here between the first and the last line is 1 inch wide. So go ahead and place your zipper down over the lines, and I'm going to put the foam down and tape it down on both ends and two places in the area here, one here and one up here. So I'll be right back. Okay, now you can see I've taped it down on both ends, and a little piece here and a little piece up here. And I'm going to put it in the machine, and this next step, step 2, will sew the zipper down. So be right back. Okay, you can see that I've changed thread from the orange that I initially had in. I've changed it to navy color, and you can see the zipper has been sewn down. So I'm going to, there's something else I was going to say. I can't remember what it was. It'll come back to me. Anyhow, the next, just be aware that it starts up here, the sewing comes down here, and it sews across right here, across the zipper, and and then comes back this way and ends down here. So just know that it does sew down at this end over that zipper, so that shouldn't be a problem for most machines, at least none that I've ever used. So anyhow, I'm going to take now and put on the back lining, the first lining piece of, not back lining, the first lining piece, and the main fabric here. So let me go to the table over here and tape those on, and I'll show you in a moment. So I have turned the hoop over to put the first piece of lining fabric on, and you'll notice the 4 lines. You want to line the edge of the lining fabric up with this bottom line, and make sure it's centered between the 2 sides. And then when you're finished with that, you're gonna, well, let me just do that, take it one step at a time. So be right back. All right, now I have put my first piece of lining right side down, and I've taped it here, here, and here. Now I'm going to use the connector and just pick this up and let this roll over to the front. Okay, and then I'm going to take this piece of lining fabric and roll it several times, and I'm going to take a piece of tape and tape it down. You get in there, you. This is not easy with one hand. I'm going to tape it down right here because this lining piece needs to stay out of the way for quite a number of steps. So let me grab some tape and tape that down. Okay, I have taped that down right in the middle there, so it's going to be out of the way. Now let me take my first piece of main fabric, which is going to be one of this pretty pieces of fabric here. If I can get them apart. Okay. All right, and the same as on the other side. You put this face down. Now you can see the zipper here, so make sure that it's equal distance on both sides. Make sure you're with, covering both sides, and just put it right against the edge of the zipper and tape it down, and I'll be right back. I have taped it down. I don't think you can see the tape. There's a piece here, there's a piece here, and there's a piece here. I'm going to take this to the machine, and the next step is going to sew a line of stitches about a 1/4 inch above the edge here, and it'll sew down this front piece and the back piece, also the piece of lining. So let me do that, and I'll show you that when I'm done. Alrighty, you can see that this has been sewn down with the line of stitches, and make sure you always turn it over to check and make sure, yes, this has been sewn down also. Sometimes it comes loose on the back while it's sewing and ends up not doing what it should. So I've turned it back to the front. I'm going to take my piece of batting, first piece, and I'm going to place it right below this line of stitching, as you can see there. So, and pull this front piece over it, and yesterday I was too lazy to go to the iron, but I'm actually feeling a little better today. I'm going to go to the iron and iron this piece down so I have a nice crease along the zipper here. So I'll be right back. I have ironed this down so it's a nice crease here by the zipper, and so let me stick this in the machine and run step 4, which will sew this down on all 4 sides. And make sure always that this piece is still out of the way. So let me do that and I'll be right back. Right, I think you can see that this has been sewn down on all sides, so everything is held nice and secure. The next step, step 5, is going to be the outline for where the applique piece will go. So let me just leave this in the machine and run step 5, and we'll see where to place our piece of applique. All right, that sewing has occurred, and it's hard to see, but I think you can see some of the placement stitching here. So it comes down to right here is the bottom part of it, from right here to right here. So yes, I have cut a 7 by 11 piece. It is probably 3 or 4 inches longer than it needs to be, but that's just for convenience. I just cut everything one size. You may want to do something else. You could use a smaller piece of fabric and get by with that. But anyhow, let me just lay this across like this and run the next step, which will sew it down. So I'll be right back. All right, now you can see that the stitching has occurred, so we know where it, this is the second part. What am I thinking? Our piece of fabric has been sewn down, our piece of applique fabric, and you need to grab your, take it out of the hoop and grab your whatever scissors you use to cut doing applique, and trim it right above this line here, and just follow the line all the way through here. And at the end, we're going to pull off this back part. This part right here will be cut off. So I'm going to come in from the side here and just start right here, and removing this bottom part so we see this pretty part. That's what we're doing in this step. So start your cutting and I'll be right back. Just show you I've cut that top part off here, this little strip here, and just cut close as you can without cutting the stitches. Cut close as you can. We're going to cover all of this with a satin stitch in a bit, but I just, as I say, cut close as you can to the stitch line all around here. So let me take the rest of this off. All right, this is what you should have after you've done your cutting and or trimming, and just make sure. I'm not so great at doing this trimming, but I think this will be okay. So anyhow, the next step, we're going to do the decorative stitching next, the trembling hearts themselves, and I'll do it in the same navy blue. So let's stick this in here and let that process occur, and then we'll move on. So it's I'm going to start that, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, the hearts have been sewn, and the next step will be the satin stitching all along the piece. And I do the satin stitching at this point because I want to cover some of these. You can see how this comes right to the edge, some of the pattern. So I want to cover that up. So anyhow, let me run that and I'll be back in a moment. All right, the design is finished. I think it looks really pretty with the satin stitching around the edges to cover all the raw edges. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to finally release this piece of fabric up here, and we're going to let it fall back to where it belongs on the back of the hoop. And we're going to take and pull it down nice. I've got some, let's remove these pieces of tape up here. Well, I'll have to do that when I can have a free hand, 2 free hands. So go ahead and remove that tape on both sides and pull this down like this, and then tape it across here on both sides to hold it down, and finger press this area down. And also, I take my, well, I had just cut my fingernails the other day, so they're not, let me see if I can do it. No, I can't grab. I cut the fingernails and, well, there we start. Okay, and just get rid of this piece of stabilizer that's behind the zipper. We need to get rid of this piece here, and it'll pull all the way down. There we go. Since it's just paper towels with my fingernail, so where does it end at? Oh, well, no, it still ends farther down there. Okay, well, anyhow, do those two things. Tape this down, this piece of lining, and get rid of the stabilizer behind the zipper. So do those, and I'll see you in a moment. Right, you can see I've removed all of the tape behind the zipper, the stabilizer, not tape, and I have taped down the corners and tried to smooth this down. It needed pressing, but I didn't do it, so that's my fault. Anyhow, stick this in your machine and run the next step, which is step 9. All right, you can see this, it is sewn around again like it did before in a previous step, and let's make sure the back's okay. Okay, I heard this piece of tape about to come up, but thankfully it held, and you can see it's sewn down also. And yes, I sewn 2 pieces of this fabric together to make it big enough, so that's what that line is there. So next we need to turn it, let me get rid of this tape, turn it back to the front. Very important, open your zipper. Take this piece of tape off. Well, darn it. Okay. And open your zipper about 3/4 of the way. Well, I used to be able to do that. There we are. Okay. All right. The zipper is open 3/4 of the way. Now take your back piece of fabric, which is another piece of this, and cover, just lay it over what's already there basically, but make sure that you are covering the zipper by about 1/4 inch, that you're past the edge of the zipper, and do the same. Place your piece of batting on there, and I'll have to put the phone down to get it, or will I? Okay, let me see, did it bunch up? Hey, I better check it after I put the phone down. Anyhow, and so then you will put this in the machine and run step 10. So do that, and I'll be right back. And let me say one more thing before I run this step. This would be the step where you would add your, if you want to put like little connecting points, you would put them in. I put them an inch in, probably I put them about right here actually, and one on each side, or you could stick one over here, but this is where you would place those at this point, and I've gone over that 100 times in my other videos, but haven't been doing them lately. So anyhow, this is a step where you would put those on before you sewed this step, before you sew step 10. So I'm not going to do any of those. I'm just going to go ahead and sew this step. So let me continue. Right, you can see that has been sewn down. So the last thing, step 11, we're going to do is turn the hoop over to the back and place our second piece of lining. And this is another odd piece of lining that I've sewn together to make the 7 by 11 size. So take it, place it over the lining that's already there, but do the same, making sure that that it's going to be at least at least a quarter inch above the edge of the zipper, the top edge of the zipper. So let me make sure that's occurring. Yes, straighten it out, and this is face down, of course. So these two pieces are going to be right sides facing right side, as you can see. Okay, go ahead and tape this down on all four corners and run the last step, step 11. And just a note, it is doing a bean stitch as the last stitch around, which is a more durable stitch to keep it from the bag from coming apart. Yesterday it made my shredded several times the thread. So far so good. Anyhow, this is what it's doing right now. All right, the design is finished. You can see the bean stitch. Actually, I had no problem with this one, so maybe it's better quality of embroidery thread. I don't know. Maybe the other thread was old or something. But anyhow, so the design is done, and it's going to be taken out of the hoop and trimmed. And I've got some videos from the other projects. I'm just going to, so I don't have to re-record this every single time, as I meant to do with those initial steps, but I forgot. I'm going to insert those prior videos showing you how to cut and trim this and how to turn it inside out and such. So anyhow, I'll be inserting those right now here. I will just do that, and it will continue on. All right, now it's out of the hoop, and I'm going to take my good scissors. These are Kai scissors, and I'm going to cut right straight up, right below the stitches, and then follow the stitches about a quarter of an inch all the way around, and stop when you get right here. And see, all this mess here is where I had all these thread breaks, but it's not going to show anywhere. So go ahead and do that trimming, and see you back in a moment. All right, this is what your bag should look like after you've done the trimming. At this point, we want to take and pull down, fold over like this, these two pieces of the lining fabric, and you might want to press them down so they stay in place, and then take your scissors and just cut right above the line here. Cut right through like this, because you need to remove all of this stuff here, because it's just junk at this point. So go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you right back. All right, now I've removed all of that, cut it right down here to the right above the stitch line. So now we're ready to turn our bag out through this hole. So go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back. All right, this is what you should be looking at after you've turned your bag through the opening here. You will see your lining fabric on both sides. So now you need to take, and there's always a shorter and a longer piece of lining. You need to take and fold your lining in like this. Okay, and I'm going to go to the iron and press it down, and then I'm going to fold this piece in also the same way. And let me go and do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I went and I pressed the top here closed, both of the pieces, and so I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and sew right along the edge of the fabric, closing up this area here. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, now you see that I have sewn this area closed all the way over to here, and now I'm going to reach in through here and turn the bag out. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I think it looks very nice. Now let me just show you. There's a piece that's come loose right here. This is the from step 1, where we put the it showed what am I saying, where we did the outline of the bag, and This piece, usually I just pull it and it'll come right out, but it was just attached to the stabilizer. It's not attached to the bag itself, so it's not going to harm you. I'm just going to cut it off there. It seems to be pretty well fixed in there on both sides. So I'm going to cut that little piece out, but the bag is not coming apart. That's not, like I say, it was only there on the stabilizer to begin with. So don't worry about that. Just cut it off and remove it. And anyhow, I think it's an attractive bag. I would use different uh, color over here next time, but I still think it's very pretty. So that concludes today's lesson on the parabola bag, and I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'm trying to get used to doing them again since I haven't done any in about 6 months. Well, I did one yesterday, so I'm just starting. So I know I'm stumbling around trying to get used to this again. But anyhow, I want to thank you all so much for those of you who continue to support me. And I have some who still, folks who do, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate you, though, all of you, for just watching how this was done. And I hope you like the little bag, and I'm going to post it either later today or tomorrow. In the on the group page, and it's a 6x10, and you have, probably all of you know by now, my Dennis Marak Designs at gmail.com. If you want it, go ahead and send me an email telling me that and telling me the format you want, and I'll send it right out to you. So anyhow, thank you all so much, and hope you have a blessed day. Bye bye.